Madam Chair, you are live.
Wonderful, thank you. If I could get our committee to the dais and on the Zoom. And as soon as everybody is here. I know. Pilar's just busy handing out snacks.
I can't hear you.
All right, it is 5:01 and we are going to call the March 20th, 2024 Quality of Life Committee meeting to order. Can I please get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Chavez,
Here.
Counselor Castro,
Present.
Counselor Faulkner,
Here and present.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Present.
Chair Cassett.
I am here.
You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving on to approval of the agenda. Any changes from staff or the committee? And if not, can I get a motion? Nope. You have change? Nope.
Move to
Motion to approve. We have a motion from Counselor Faulkner, second from Counselor Garcia. All those in favor say, oh wait, no, we got Amanda or Counselor Chavez on Zoom. Pardon my casual use of your first name. Can I please get a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Cassett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. And moving on to, we have our presentations on my agenda before approval of the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to amend that and move directly to approval of the consent agenda so we can make sure I don't forget it later?
So moved.
Motion and a second. Can I please get a roll call to amend the agenda to go straight to approval of consent?
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Cassett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. So moving on to approval of the consent agenda. If no items were pulled off in advance, is there anything that anyone would like to hear now?
I will just mention, sorry, that we have a nuisance property on today's consent agenda, and we will soon be getting a presentation about how those work and how we submit complaints. So I'm excited for that.
To approve. Motion approved.
Second.
Motion and a second, and another roll call, please.
Counselor Chavez,
Yes.
Counselor Castro,
Yes.
Counselor Faulkner,
Yes.
Counselor Michael Garcia,
Yes.
Chair Cassett.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you so much. And moving on to our presentation for today, we have an aquatics update. We have Brian Stinnett, our Recreation Division Director, here to present. So Brian, take it away. Yeah, Mike, thank you.
Should I start from the top again or am I good? Okay. Well, currently we have our 4 pools, 3 which are open year round, BCCC, Salvador Perez, Fort Marcy, and Bicentennial Pool. Our hours are listed up here on the slide as such. Fort Marcy Pool at the moment is closed due to staffing shortages, and I'll get into that a little bit more during the presentation. Our current staff right now, we have 17 unfilled positions. We have 1 work-based learning intern that's working as a lifeguard for us in a part-time role. You can see our different positions up here. Our supervisors are filled. Our part-time supervisor positions are filled. Our water safety instructor positions have 4 vacant. Full-time lifeguards, we have 2 unfilled out of 3 total full-time, and we have 3 unfilled part-time lifeguards. We just moved 3 of our trainee positions into temp positions. So we vacated 3 additional temp positions right now. So we have 3 filled and 3 unfilled. And we've created 8 new temp positions year round. And we're looking forward to the 4 summer temp positions coming up here that we're also actively recruiting for. Currently, with staff that we do have on staff, we have 6 outages, and these are all full-time employees for various reasons. FMLA, we have a couple that are out on injury, illness. And then we have some others that are in a working capacity, but they are on light duty. So they are incapable of actually lifeguarding because they're physically unable to perform the duties of a rescue. For this reason, Fort Marcy is closed due to that shortage. Those hours that we've had Fort Marcy open from the fall until January, when these unforeseen things have come up, is forced our staffing to switch, and we prioritize our pools as GCCC and Salvador Perez due to our usage rates and user groups that occupy those pools. Currently, we're at a 36% vacancy rate. If we're adding the 6 outages, we're at a 47% vacancy rate. Up on the screen is our prioritized pool and how that correlates to our staffing rates that we have. If we have a 35% staffing rate, we can open up the GCCC with its current hours. If we're at 50% or higher, we can open up Salvador Perez. At 65% and higher, we can open up Fort Marcy. And hopefully by summer, if we're at 90% or higher with our current positions, we can open up all 4 pools. In order for us with our current positions to actually have all pools fully open with no limits and consider our union employees' rights, we would need to have 100% staff filled so that they can use their vacation, their approved leave, and any other types of call-ins or things of that nature. For a little bit of information, when it comes to our swimmers, 1 guard equals 25 swimmers per water. So when we are opening our facilities, we have to take into account what a lifeguard to swimmer ratio is. Currently at GCCC, to meet current community demand, we would need a supervisor, as highlighted in red up on top. The leisure pool would need 4 lifeguards, which would equate to about 100 swimmers in the leisure pool. Our lap pool, 2 lifeguards for up to 50 lap swimmers or club users. Our therapy pool requires 1, and at any point in time, we would need 2 responders down off the chair in the case of an emergency. Emergency such as heart attack, stroke, injury, spinal response. Our 2 responders are vital in that emergency action response so that A, they're cared for, and B, they have proper care. Our other pools needs, Fort Marcy needs a total of 3 to operate fully, 2 staff and 1 supervisor for a total of 3. Salvador Perez, 4, 3 lifeguards, 1 supervisor. And Bicentennial Pool, due to the popularity as well as the tot pool, we would need a total of 6 staff, 5 lifeguards and 1 supervisor. If we're looking at our pool capacities, this slide kind of highlights exactly how many swimmers per pool that we could actually fill if we had the maximum amount by bather load. Fort Marcy can hold a capacity of 125 swimmers, Salvador Perez 150, Bicentennial Pool 125 in the lap pool, 25 in the tot pool. The GCCC lap pool can hold up to 500 participants at once, the leisure pool 150, and the therapy pool. What that means in the middle here, to get full capacity of all those facilities, we would need a total of 2 additional at Fort Marcy, 2 at Salvador Perez, 1 additional at BC, 18 additional at GCCC in the lap pool, and 2 in our leisure pool. What is highlighted by the 18 and the 500 participants, when we have a large swim meet and we have up to 200 and 300 athletes in the water at one time, we pull about 7 to 8 lifeguards just to ensure that there's proper coverage for that amount of bather load. Our other staff considerations that we're facing right now is broken up by 3 categories. Youth staff, considering of high school or college age students. We consider their classes, their sports, their family, and any other thing that they have going on. So we're utilizing these staff in a pretty limited capacity, depending on what they have going on during their school year. For example, a football player or a basketball player would be missing their season or missing a lot of hours normally because they're in season, and vice versa. So we kind of work with them in their schedules, and they're generally afternoon and weekend type employees that we have right now. Our adult staff, we have 10 full-time adult staff, and we have 4 second job retirees. We've had a former judge, we have a former attorney that's coming on board, and they work limited hours just to help us and provide coverage for our pools. In order for us to stay open Monday through Sunday, Fort Marcy requires 8 lifeguards per day or 8 staff members, three lifeguards and a supervisor at a time. And our weekend would require 4. Salvador Pet is the same. GCCC for all of the bodies of water, therapy, leisure, and lap pool, 16, 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening. And Bicentennial, 10 daily, 5 in the morning and 5 in the evening. Our current hiring or positions that we have right now on the left side is 44 total positions in aquatics that we can recruit and hire for. 28 full-time, 16 part-time, 3 summer temp, 1 part-time summer temp, and 8 part-time annual temps, which we just created. In order for us to meet the community demand, we've been taking statistics over the last year, seeing how many swimmers have come in. We've also utilized a platform that tells us how many people are reserving for our recreation swim, and also how many we have on our wait list or have been turned away. So to meet the community demand, we would need a total of 52 aquatic positions, 32 full-time, 20 part-time, 5 full-time summer temp, 2 part-time temps in the summer, and then keeping with our 8 annual part-time. On the right side, that equates to 10 additional total positions, 4 full-time, 3 lifeguard, 1 WSI, 4 part-time lifeguards, and 2 temps. If we were ever to achieve our full bather capacity load, we would need a total of 69 total positions for us to fully open up every pool that we have at its maximum capacity without limits or having to set reservations. A short comparison about what we do today. On the left side is the GCCC. As you'll see, we offer 73 hours of lap swim weekly and 31.75 hours of rec swim weekly. And then our therapy pool operates about 30.5 hours. Our hours go from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturday from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. As you move across the slide there, you can see that the GCCC is far ahead of our regional type facilities that are similar to the GCCC, West Mesa Aquatic Center, the Rio Rancho Aquatic Center, and Los Alamos Aquatic Center. So in terms of what we're providing, Santa Fe is doing a good job given our staffing constraints to provide as much as we can. Some other comparisons for our smaller pools, Fort Marcy and Salvador Perez. You can see that Albuquerque, Los Altos Pool, Valley, Sandia, and Highland are similar in size and scope. They provide a lot more in terms of lap swim, but what I'd like to highlight is the limited recreation swim, 3 hours a week and 1 hour a week. Moving on to Pojoaque, same thing. They do pretty well with the recreation swim and their lap swim. The Jewish Community Center is a privately owned pool, but similar in size. And then Sierra Vista is a summertime pool only. So they have very, very limited hours only on the weekends. If we're adding both of our pools together comparatively, Fort Marcy and Salvador Perez offer 93 hours of lap and 53 hours of program or recreation swim. Some of the things that we're doing currently for programs and hiring, we mentioned the 8 summertime positions. Those were created in, 8 temporary positions. Those were created in 2024. We found with some of our positions that we have, if you recall back, we only have 3 full-time lifeguard positions. So it was difficult to move some of our trainees into any of those other positions, also because of the age of our employees, the high school and the college age, right? We have a limitation of them having to work a minimum of 16 hours to be able to be in a part-time role. During season or during clubs or anything that they have, that ability of them drops down. So we have about 4 or 5 that are only putting in about 8 hours a week for us right now as they were in their winter sports season. Now, as we're moving into spring, their availability goes up. So these 8 positions allow us to move people in and out of positions a little more freely so that we can open up our trainee positions and leave those part-time and full-time positions available for those who can meet that demand. We've spent the last couple months and continue on through April recruiting at local area high schools. We've gone to Capital and Santa Fe High School, Pojoaque. We have upcoming events at the Indian School, early college opportunities, Monte del Sol, St. Michael's, ATC, Pecos, and others. We are happy to present that we are full for our March 25th to 29th spring break course. That's a free course that's being offered. by the hard work of Abby getting that filled. We screened specifically for those that are interested in working for the city. We have a good applicant pool of 10. They're going to be taking that the 25th to the 29th, and we hope to get them moved into open positions. April 11th through 13th, we have a blended course. What that is, it's an online learning. They do the content online, then they come in for 2.5 days of skills work. Same thing for May 16th to the 18th. Some other things we've done is we've got some staff cross-trained. Myself was certified in the fall, and our complex manager over at the GCCC was just certified last month. At times where we have been short or where we have a larger bather load, myself and the complex manager have filled in to ensure that our pools remain open. Most recently, Monday being an example with call-ins and illnesses and things like that. So we kept Salvador Pettis open, Mr. Sperlin and myself. We are expecting 2 trainees to be onboarded pretty soon, either now on the 30th, depending on the pay period cycle, or the 13th of April. And 2 temporary lifeguards we're expecting to come on. A comparison from last year's 2022-23 vacancy rate, we average about a 60% vacancy rate. Over the past year, 23-24, we've kind of hovered around a 30% vacancy rate. So we're doing a good job hiring and retaining people that are coming on board. And then we are hopeful for the return of our 6 that are out due to injury and illness and everything else, so that we can get Fort Marcy back to the opening hours that it was operating at, Tuesday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 2, and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3:30. Some other things that we've been doing is looking into what are people doing nationally. I've been able to sit in on a few seminars. A lot of municipalities are going the route of summer signing bonuses to entice and attract staff to come on and work in aquatics. Performance and attendance bonus. So if they show up to work daily at the end of the season, they receive a bonus for being reliable and coming into work daily. And that it speaks specifically to the youth, right? Working their first time jobs as they come in. It's a nice little incentive to also teach them what it means to be a full-time employee, but also the importance of coming to work. And then guarding your own water. So this is where some of our private clubs, we're working with legal, getting that approved so that while they're using their space for swim meets and for practices and everything else, their coaches by law are required to be certified as lifeguards. If we can find a way to utilize them to guard their own water, this frees up city staff to be able to open up more offerings outside of what we currently do. We've done a lot with free training, pathways to employment. We work with New Mexico Workforce Solutions to get some interns in. We have 3 in recreation in total. We have 1 interested in aquatics specifically. We've held a work-based learning worker with us, or intern, for the last year. She's been phenomenal and she's incredibly reliable. So without that position, we would have been down even another lifeguard. So that's been a good program for us. And then MIAB, the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board, is currently working on creating a youth-centered hiring page for any opportunities within the city and outside of city positions, but aquatics being one of them. That is our presentation on aquatics for right now, and I thank you all for listening. If there's any questions, please let me know.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And I should have given a little intro prior, but now I'm going to do it here. The reason that I was really eager to bring Director Stinnett and the aquatics team to come to speak to quality of life is I know that I hear from fellow parents and in a lot of parenting platforms about the frustration around swim hours and swim accessibility. And I really wanted to highlight the incredible work that Director Stinnett is doing and the team and the creativity that you all are putting into place to try to open up as much swim time for as many swimmers as possible, as well as get the word out again about the fact that we really need lifeguards. I know that there was the slide about, how many positions would need to be funded, but I do want to remind everybody that we do not have everything, or by everybody, I mean the crowd, you all know this, or the public, that the giant crowd that's in chambers right now, that, you know, we do not have all of our current positions funded. And so that is our number one goal at this point is how can we get we do not have all of our current funded positions filled. And so making sure that those get filled first is priority, because I know that there would be these conversations around, well, you just need to open up more lifeguard positions. That is not currently the case. We need to fill the ones that we have, and then, you know, then that becomes a broader conversation. So I very much encourage anybody in the public to go over these slides. They are available on PrimeGov, or you can just continue to, you know, watch this. It'll be on YouTube. To take a look at some of the work that is being done by the aquatic staff, as well as if there are additional questions, ideas, or more importantly, if there is somebody that you know that might be able to fill any of these positions, please reach out to us, and we are more than happy to connect you to whoever you need to speak with in order to figure that out and get you into some of these really incredible training programs, both in person as well as the hybrid. So thank you all for that flexibility. And with that, I will stop and send it over to the committee for any questions or comments. Counselor Pilar.
I got a call about the Geneva Chavez Center and that the roof is, condensation on the roof is leaking into some of the lanes, and some of the lanes are closed. Can you give me some feedback on what's going on with that situation?
So the environment in the GCCC is high humidity, and everything else that goes up, it's causing some deterioration of the ceiling that's going on in lanes 14, 15, and 16. So we've had some galvanized metal that has corroded, and there are some rusting pieces that have fallen over that space. We do have that area blocked off. We've had our facilities division come in. They're working diligently with us to get that situation remedied. It will not be a quick fix, but we are trying to do everything we can to ensure that those pieces are falling, are captured, so that they're not making their way down to the pool. And we check that hourly to make sure that safety is first priority.
Is there an estimate on how much time it's going to take to fix that?
Last week, thank you, Madam Chair and Councilors. The last we spoke with facilities, they were going to have somebody come out and do an evaluation. And I think from there, we would need a quote and planning for closing the pool to actually complete the work. So it is going to be quite a comprehensive project, unfortunately. So hopefully we can time it appropriately so that we will lessen impact to the public.
Is there anything that we can help with as counselors other than communicate to the public what the expectations are around the timeline?
So I think our goal for right now is to see if there's any way we can mitigate any danger and get that remedied. Until we know exactly the scope of the damage and the extent that it's going to take to fix that, we're kind of speculating right now on how long that's going to take. Our goal would always be to interrupt our least impacted times. Right now, our most impacted times are summer. Obviously, youth and families are out. They use it the most. And then wintertime during swim and club season. So we see an uptick. So we try to schedule that repair around those times, but there's no way for us to determine how long that'll be.
Thank you so much, Counselor Faulkner. Counselor Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Brian, just quick follow-up on that. So an assessment was conducted on that space? A full assessment? I mean, safety, because what we see is what we see. We don't know the issues that may be underlying, and just because it's falling in one place doesn't mean it can't be falling in others. So has a full-on inspection been conducted of that space?
A full-on inspection has not been conducted, but we did have our safety team come out as well as facilities. The area where it's occurring, it's obvious exactly where that's falling. We don't see any visible signs of it being a danger or an issue elsewhere in the ceiling. Of course, there are rusting issues throughout, but we don't see the level of where they are except for this one section. So we have been given the verbal okay to continue as long as we keep that section.
And that
Locked
verbal
off.
okay is by city staff, by whom? Can we clarify who that is?
Correct.
By the city safety staff. Yes, okay. I just want to make sure that, you know, in the car world, there's rust. There's rust everywhere in a car. Just because you see it doesn't mean it's not, you might see it on the fender, right? That doesn't mean it's not everywhere else. It's cancer. They call rust cancer for a reason. And my mind immediately thinks, shucks, our roof has cancer. And so what can be done to do a full-on inspection to ensure that we're addressing and mitigating any issues with that roof?
Chair and counselors, a full roof inspection took place a couple of years ago. And I re-forwarded that report to facilities so they could also look at it. So hopefully they do have somebody coming out to inspect this current because it is a concern. We want to make sure that we keep everybody safe. So hopefully the inspection can be done quickly. And then from there, we'll have to determine, if we need to close off the entire area or not. But the roof was inspected, so, yeah, it was a little surprising that this occurred.
Well, I mean, in instances like Director Stinnett said, where there is lots of humidity, it happens very quickly. And so when you said a couple of years, is that 3 years, 4 years, 5 years?
It was a report from 2022.
Okay. I think, I'm always of the instance of the mindset, better to be safe than sorry, especially when it can injure somebody or potentially kill somebody. And if it's not planned, I mean, I would advocate we do a full-on inspection just to be safe. It's better for us to be safe and ensure that we're addressing the issue. And if that means, unfortunately, having to impact hours, we'll let the community know that we're impacting hours for your safety, not because we don't want you to swim. We're doing it so you can swim in the future. So that I just would encourage that from.
We'll follow up with facilities tomorrow to ensure that something is scheduled and that it's done quickly.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you, Director Stinnett, for the report. I mean, the lifeguard situation is something that at least even before I came on board, it was always an issue. How do we hire enough folks? What are the strategies? And I think there's never really been a solution. We've always kind of not been able to get a full grasp on it. We've implemented some systems where we've been able to reserve, thanks to the folks that set that up, because I think that was very, very helpful. As a parent, as somebody who has been frustrated because kids, we know those reservations it's like hitting the lottery. That's how in demand our pool is. I think it just further exemplifies the sheer demand. And I think, I know we went over some of the other aquatic centers, but Albuquerque has much more opportunities for swimming. Most folks don't go to Salvador Pettis for recreational, it's exercise. So we've got basically one recreational pool, which is GCCC. And then it's kind of, when Bicentennial opens up, it's a hybrid. It's got recreational and exercise. We get the lap swimming. So that's why we see so much demand, because we don't have any, the facilities to meet the demand. So then it comes back to how can we bring on enough staff? Because I honestly think until we open up a new pool, there's always going to be the demand for it. And how do we ensure that we're have enough staff to ensure we're always at capacity? And I think that's been the concern from folks, is having to shift staff around to ensure we can manage what pools have capacity. And so I know that there was a challenge, and we've talked about this in the past, but do we still require drug testing for lifeguards?
We do, yes. They are considered safety sensitive position and they are subject to random testing.
And so is that required by city law, by state law? Where is that requirement come into play?
Madam Chair, counselors, I believe that is really being dictated as a part of our liability insurance. So the city has asked that we keep that in place because of our liability insurance.
Okay, understandable. Just because I know, and I don't know how much it would change, but if we eliminated that, would more folks apply? But that's been brought up in the past. Cross training, thank you for doing that. but I think that's a Band-Aid, and I by no means want to pull you, Director Stinnett, from your busy job to help lifeguard. I understand when it's crunch time, you need to step in to do that, but ultimately, that's not what we hired you for. And I think it comes back to, we need to get folks in the positions. And so my mind was thinking, I know that there is the big rush for the summer rec programs. I think you're part of that, and we hire a ton of folks, young folks in the summer for that. Is there a way to maybe look at some of the folks that apply through that process and push them through the lifeguarding process?
Yes, Counselor, and we are doing that right now. Some of the youth program staff, part of their requirement is they need to be able to swim and ice skate. So what we're trying to do is set up a lifeguard instruction course for those staff so that when those youth programs are in the water, they may be able to guard their own space and time. So we have thought of that. I would like to also mention, we are doing some beta testing for some open recreation swim times this Friday, the 22nd, from 4:30 to 7:45. We have allocated all the staff that we possibly can to open up that rec pool with no limitations and no reservations required. We're also doing the same for the 5 days of spring break, the March 25th through the 29th. We really want to see the type of demand, what it's like, so that when we move into summer, we also plan to roll out a new online system for reservations or tickets, so that it's no longer going through the reservation first come. You might be able to buy a ticket ahead of time, and that'll give you your space reserved without the duality. So our platform is something that we've been working on for about a year now. We're excited that we're at the end stages of getting that launched, and that should help with communication and also with community demand. And then we'll use the data from Friday and spring break to gear our prioritization of our pools through the summer. So we'll be coming out with some more information in hours on how that goes once we get that data.
Okay, great. Sounds like you're doing some planning and preparation for the summer rush when it's really hot and folks want to be in a nice cool pool of water. Last question, and this is always comes up, pay. Are we paying our lifeguards enough? Are we offering a wage that actually recruits folks? And I think ultimately we've got to begin to look at raising that. Sometimes there's positions where we just have to pay more, even than some of our surrounding communities, because these are services that residents expect. And when we have to make the decision of shifting lifeguards and closing certain pools because we don't have the capacity of lifeguards to manage, I completely understand the frustration of the community on that behalf. And I think it then comes back to, well, how do we recruit them? Well, one thing that will always recruit folks is paying them more. And I definitely understand the incentive process, but that's part of pay. It's how do we incentivize folks to stay with us year round, and then provide those incentives for the summer rush months, right? When we need Bicentennial open to ensure that whether it's Port Marcy, Salvador Perez, or GCCC don't see the impact of that, and it's a smooth operating machine for you. And so that slide, you pull that slide up for, I'll let you reference it.
Yeah, so when looking at this slide here, if you're looking at the numbers of current staff that we have 10 adult staff, and we consider those as career staff, right? They've been with the city for over 2 or 3 years. They plan to remain. They are invested in a part of the team because of benefits and everything else, the other compensation that's considered. I think the question that you rose is a little bit of a difficult one to answer, in the sense of total compensation. The city is right on par with regional. When you talk about hourly wage, we're $1 or $2 short regionally from our private pools here in Santa Fe and up to Hill and Los Alamos. So we are behind on what we're getting. So looking at this slide, if you're a youth not really interested in benefits,
right,
you're going to take the higher pay for the short-term summer work than what you're going to take for working for the city. And that's where the lower rate does affect our ability to recruit.
So with that being said, Are we asking for higher wages in the next year's budget? I'm hoping that's a yes. You don't have to answer that. We'll wait till it comes. I'm just, that's one thing. I think it's one of those, there are certain positions we just got to understand. Sometimes we got to pay more for. And if private entities are going to begin to poach our staff and it's impacting the services we can provide, well, then let's raise the bar. And if they're going to poach our employees, they're going to have to pay more to poach our employees. And I think in the long run, they don't care where they're working. They care about that paycheck at the end of the day. So let's incentivize them with the financial returns, and we then have the community reap the benefits of having tons of lifeguards. So I'll leave it at that, but thank you for everything you're doing to put in place to plan for a successful summer. I've definitely seen improvements in regards to the services and how folks access the services. The challenge is still, I don't think we're going to be able to meet the demand until we open up a new recreational, another GCCC on the south side. And maybe that can be an additional component of the teen center. I mean, just throwing out things here, but until that happens, GCCC is going to see the brunt of all the demand until summer months.
Madam Chair and counselors, one of the things to think about when looking at these slides is that Los Alamos and Rio Rancho, they have one building, one facility that has their pools. We have multiple facilities during the winter. And so that makes it very difficult where they are staffing one facility in the winter. We're staffing 3 facilities with multiple pools in one large facility. And so you can see from these numbers, our situation that we're going to have to make some decisions about this. And one of the things I wanted to do, and we just didn't get to it this year, was have a plan and kind of look at our facilities, look at fees, structure going forward. And so I'd still like to try to do that in the next year to kind of evaluate what is the reality of Santa Fe, what's the, our demographic need, and how we can make sure that we're providing the best service with our facilities. So there are going to have to be some decisions made both about operating hours, facilities, demographics, and locations that we're going to have to start thinking about in the future, because it's, it's a lot for the staff. I really thank Brian and his team for all the work they put into trying to provide the best service, but it can be stressful for staff. It can be just, you see the Jenga game right there. You pull one person calls in sick and everything changes. And so they're managing it, but we are going to have to make some decisions as a community, I believe, going forward.
Yeah, I completely agree. And Director Stinnett, sometimes you have the hardest job dependent on the day, because, those upset parents that aren't able to go swimming when they might be planning on it, you have to take on all that anger from folks. So thank you for taking that on. So kudos to you and your team. Just continue pushing forward. We'll make sure that we can work towards getting the resources, but I think it comes down to pay. And I think let's figure out how we can get there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Counselor Castro.
Yes. Thank you, Counselor Garcia, for those questions. I'll sort of piggyback a little bit on maybe the framing of some of these jobs. I totally understand that this is a great first job and that we want our young people in our spaces. That tends to sometimes in our mind help us think that we need to pay a little bit less. And so that will attract folks in a different way. So just talking about it in general as a job and something that the city needs might be helpful. I'm excited that we are working with Workforce Solutions because they're sort of bringing folks into the fold of what we are looking for. Director Stinnett, what are some needs or some requirements for this position if somebody was interested?
So they pass a swim pre-test, and of course they have to be able to pass a lifeguarding skills test. The only requirement is that they're able to swim right now. If they're able to swim decently, then we can get them through and get them in one of our training positions and build them up to be able to do some of the life-saving skills that are necessary for a lifeguard. Some of the other things in terms of getting onboarded, they have to have their certification before they apply. So that's another hurdle to us. So we have to get them certified first, then they have to apply. So it's timing that's a little bit tough for us to get all of those things lined up. When we look at how our facilities are open, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., and that's a long day if you saw comparatively from our other regional pools. So our adult staff are there during the day, right, for the most part. Our youth are unable to work due to school. So unless we're able to recruit and get some more full-time adult 8 to 5, 6 to 2 type staff, we're going to have a difficulty expanding on those hours and consequently expanding on recreation hours as well, because we're relying on the youth or the younger or the newer lifeguards to be there during the recreation times. I do want to highlight when we have our busy times, right? Prime time is 4 to 7 p.m. That's when everybody's getting out of school. They want to come to the pool. And then they also have swim, high school club teams. So on those days, we're seeing about 120 to 150 swim teams coming through participants during that time. When we have that high demand, that shifts our focus on lifeguards because we have to put more up on our lap pool, which restricts our ability to open up our recreation pool. So this highlight here at GCCC kind of expounds on that a little bit. When we're pulling from recreation to serve a different need, still youth-based, we're kind of stuck with a tough decision to make, right? How can we pull from one and not the other? So we do the best that we can. As long as everybody has made it into work, we're able to serve about 60 recreation swimmers and the need during the prime time. If we have a call-in, that's where we shift staff over from one of the other pools to try to meet that need. So we've done really well with maintaining those numbers. I would say we've only had a few days where we've allowed less than 60. And I would like to encourage people when they are planning to come in to swim, contact the GCCC because we send our front desk notice that today we can house 60, 90, 120. I think people get discouraged because we're only opening 30 recreation slots. That's because it's a standard form that we have right now, but multiple days we're able to serve more.
I'm sorry. I know. Thank you so much for the presentation. And these are some tough questions. Are all these union positions, for the most part, the full-time positions? So they're eligible for all the benefits that other city workers are, correct?
Yes, the union positions are our full-time and our part-time positions. Our temporary positions are non-union.
And right now we have 16 open positions currently that are funded. Is that correct?
Correct.
Perfect. And are there other types of materials that we can look into for that roof that wouldn't rust?
We're looking into other types of pool sanitation methods. So what we're dealing with the corrosion is chloramines. So the chlorine that evaporates, rises up to the ceiling, that's the corrosive material mixed with the water in the atmosphere. That's what's causing the flaking. So we are working on a secondary sanitation system that reduces those chloramines, which improves the overall health of the building. And I think we're close to getting something like that installed at the GCCC.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you both for your work. No more questions.
Well, thank you so much, Counselor Castro. Counselor Chavez texted me that all the questions were answered, so thank you all. My only other question, really appreciate the robust discussion brought about by my colleagues, has to do with how that ratio is established. I think that that's really important. That swimmer to lifeguard ratio. Why do we have the 1 to 25? Is this law? Is this industry standard? Is this best practice?
The American Red Cross sets that ratio. So they are our certifying agent that gets all of our lifeguards certified. So for their liability as well, if we have anything more than that, they now become the liable office. If we were to staff more, that puts a liability question against the city and the Red Cross. So it is a industry standard recommended, I should say. There are a few other certifying agencies, but they are all around the 1 to 25, the 1 to 30 ratio. So there's not really much variation on that.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I think that's obviously very important. We know that this is an area where the safety of our swimmers is of the utmost importance, especially, well, anyone, but those kiddos, they don't always think about what they're doing. So making sure that we really do have that ratio is extremely important. And I know that that can be really hard because oftentimes that ratio is it is that restricting factor. But I do want to make sure that the public knows that a lot of that has to do with, where that standard comes from. And of course, we want to make sure that it is a safe and fun experience for everybody. With
Apologize, Chair Cassett. One
ahead.
more question. Director Stinnett, do you know what our relationship is with the Santa Fe Country Club's pool?
Counselor?
So I know that, Counselor Castro, I know that we have an agreement to be able to use their pool based on the water availability, but given the recent litigation, I don't know how that's going to be impacting that. That's.
I believe back in early 2000s, that was an agreement, but that has not existed since my term. And then I've checked with Abby. She's been around for longer with me, and that has not been something that we do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Faulkner, did you have something to add to that?
Follow up with that. I think that,
Can you get closer to your mic?
I think that the new agreement with the city has for water use and how much water is going to cost the country club. I think it's strained the ability to have.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much, Director Sinet and Abby and everyone for being here. I really appreciate all the work. It's just, it means a lot to the community. And I know that you all are working very hard and looking at a variety of solutions to these challenges, and truly appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Council.
Okay, let me pull up the agenda again. We have no other business tonight, so we are moving on to matters from staff. I will send it over to you, Director Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, members of the council. Good evening. I just have a couple of things that I'd like to share. First, the Planning and Land Use Department, I'm working with them. We're working on a Planning and Land Use Summit, which will bring in architects, developers, and folks who are in the building industry in late April is what I'm trying to plan. There's a lot of moving parts, but that's something we're working on. And I'll let you know when we come to our next meeting. Additionally, on the 12th of April, the film office, the Economic Development Office is working with the Film Council to put together above the line film and digital media coffee collab. And I forgot where it's located, but I can get that information for our next meeting, but it is on the 12th at noon. Additionally, there is a grant opportunity in our OED newsletter called the T-Mobile Hometown Grant. And one organization can get up to $50,000 if applying for neighborhood initiatives. And so I'm saying this because I want to encourage our public and local organizations to sign up for our newsletter, because it's chock full of grant opportunities that they can apply and try to leverage. So this one I thought was quite interesting. And then lastly, there is a career fair at the community college on April 24th, and it will be on the campus. And we will probably have some mailings before that happens, but I just want to let everyone know that there's a career fair at the community college. And with that, I say thank you.
Thank you so much.
Director Tucker.
Thank you, Madam Chair and councilors. I would just like to invite everybody to the Safe Outdoor Space public walkthrough on Monday. It'll take place from 10 to 2 with speakers scheduled to begin at 11:30. And the site is not fully complete yet, so it won't be a complete site, but you will get to see the space and how the church, the Christ Lutheran Church, has utilized their parking space to create this wonderful community. LifeLink will be providing services there at the site, and so this is just a really great partnership with faith-based nonprofit and city funding the shelters. So hopefully you can make it, and if you can't, let us know. We can provide a tour at another time.
Thank you. I'll be gone for Thanksgiving, spring break. I apologize, everybody. I got maybe 4 hours of sleep last night, so hence me not being able to speak today. It was one of those fun insomnia nights, so I apologize. But thanks for offering us some different times, because I want to be there. Marcella, did you have anything today?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And moving on to matters from the committee. Counselor Faulkner.
So Counselor Garcia and I are hosting a meet and greet at the Country Club tomorrow night. For anyone who wants to attend, it's our first kind of reaching out to the community. And so I just wanted to get it out there again and then invite any of the other counselors who might like to. 6:30.
And I'm going to assume that's Lee Garcia. It's the District 3 counselors. Okay. We have 2 Garcias, so we need to qualify.
And you just scared me because I thought it was Thanksgiving and I had gone crazy.
I'm so sorry. I was up from like 1:30 to 5 last night and then had to get up at 6. It wasn't pretty. A lot of coffee today. Any other matters from members of the committee? Counselor Castro?
I do have one shameless plug. So Creative Santa Fe or Creative Mornings Santa Fe is starting up again in April. And so April 19th, I will be the featured speaker at the Vladum. So if anyone is interested at 6:30 in the morning to come to the Vladum on the 19th, the theme will be spicy.
Okay, I'll probably be awake apparently because that's how I roll now. Matters from the committee. I would just want to remind any members of the public that we do have the Easter egg hunt this weekend at the MRC. I believe that starts at 10 a.m. Look on the websites. We cannot trust me today. My sleep 9:30. This is why we do not trust sleep deprived, Jamie. And other than that, our next meeting is Wednesday.